We saw this week Ryan Day getting an extension at Ohio State for 2 years, up to $9.5 million annually. That's through the 2028 season. He had been getting paid 7.6 million, which is pretty close to what Kirby has been getting. Of course, the one thing that Kirby's got that Ryan Day does not is a national championship. So does this set the market for Kirby? We're about halfway through May, which means really any day now. Although probably at the board meeting later this month for Georgia, and I actually don't know where it is this year, but that it will likely be passed then, if not slightly before or after then. What is Kirby's real value at this stage? I mean, if you're Josh Brooks, um, and you are looking at locking in Kirby Smart for an extended period of time, what is the correct dollar amount that both matches his ability as a coach and also fits your financial health? Um, so Mark Weiser in the Athens Banner Herald reported this week that Georgia's athletic board will be asked to approve a fiscal year 2023 budget next week at the meeting in Greensboro, Georgia. That will include a projected increase in revenues of just under 8%. That's not bad. I'll tell you as a business person, that's not that bad. 8%, that's pretty good actually. That would be $1.62 million up from $150 million in this current year that we're in. Um, that includes, um, from what I can tell from what Mark's reporting, there can be a athletic academic bonus that comes from the Alston case from the NCAA. But all of that said, you're talking about a situation where um, Georgia with 150 million, 100, excuse me, $60 million budget, which is down from where it was earlier. Okay, so earlier in the last 10 years, I was about to say this decade. Earlier, it was actually higher than this 160. The um the pandemic did really slow some things down for everybody, and everybody got into not chopping mode, but like let's not go nuts mode. And those are very those are very important moments. I know what that's like, having to survive that. But if Ryan Day is at 9.5 through 2028, does that mean that Kirby is worth more than that? Does that mean that Kirby is would take lower than that for an extended period of time? I mean, right now he's at about 7 million over not per year, but an average for $49 million contract, and I think that goes through 2025, which we're not so far from at this point. The question becomes, what is the actual value? I thought it's going to be near 10 million. But 10 million over how many years? I mean, is it over another 7 years? Um, Josh Brooks has been pretty adamant that they're gonna, quote, rework the thing or rework the contract, and I think they will. I just wonder what the final number will be. Kirby brought y'all this moment. There's no doubt that he is the driving force for the way that Georgia won the national championship. All of the decisions, um, at the end of the day, were his. I mean, he recruited Keely Ringo. He recruited Nolan Smith. This is completely and fully his team in every single way. It's his program. And again, I've talked about this a lot. This was the one moment where I saw him give himself the ability to celebrate. I, it felt a little bit, thinking back on it, that I mean, this is my interpretation of it. It felt like he expected it. That is really, to me, the look of relief, because this should have happened. I'm not saying it should have happened before this moment, but this should have happened. I stressed that a lot during the run up to the game. Make sure you're picking up DAWGSTRUCTION. There's not that many pictures of Kirby in here. amazingly, that is kind of nuts considering he's the head coach. Well, there's a few. So there's a few of them here. A couple with his family. One was shock right there. Um, there's more of it than I thought. This is really an excellent image. It's not the type of image that you want as a photographer because it's back focused. But in this one instance, that is part of his family, not everybody. One of the kids is missing. Uh, Celebrating as you can see Keeley dropping the ball as he runs in for the national championship shows you how much that family was really excited about that moment. I cannot get past in this one small area here. You have the clenched fist of his wife, which I think is more awesome than anything, just being straight up, and the jubilation of his mother. But his wife was a pretty good shooter for Andy Landers and the Lady Bulldogs, and that fist could not be more clenched right there. And I as someone who's played sports through the years, I know that feeling, and it's a refreshing feeling. Anyway, um, that wasn't about getting a new contract. That was about jubilation and excitement, and the come on, the let's go, all those things that we say, sometimes with expletives involved. I think it would be reasonable to have a anywhere from a 7 to 9 year contract that's worth $10 million a year on average, or just 10 million. Kirby is not the CEO of the company, but it would not be abnormal. And this is just very quick math off the top of my head. Well, not off the top of my head, but it would not be nuts at all for the CEO to be paid 6%, slightly more than 6% of the revenue of the company. I'm just going to do something real quick here. Uh, because I know another company pretty well, and I wanted to see where we're at here with this whole thing. I wonder why I can't recall. Yeah, 6% is maybe a little bit higher. Well, not really, actually. Now that I think about it, that's about where you want to be. That's what I would consider normal. Um, the number one cost at the athletic department, um, boy, I don't want to say that so fast. A major cost at the athletic department at Georgia, like every other, is personnel. That is a common thing in business, of course, and he is your key employee, right? I mean, he is the face of the institution. Most people know who the governor of Georgia is in Georgia. Now I gotta say, I don't know that everybody knows the governor of their state, but in Georgia, it's a little bit different just because that was a high profile race the last time. I wonder how many South Carolinians know that Henry McMaster is the governor there. I wonder how many Alabamians know that Kay Ivey is the governor there. I don't recall the Mississippi's governor's name. Um, I damn sure can tell you that Lane Kiffin is the coach at Ole Miss, Nick Saban is the coach at Alabama, Kirby Smart's the head coach at Georgia, and Shane Beamer is the head coach at South Carolina. And in the state of Clemson, that Dabo is the head coach there. My point in all of that is, um, these are the faces of the institutions, to be sure, but in many ways they're the faces of the state. Maybe not in Florida where it's split a little bit more, and maybe not in North Carolina where basketball is king. But I mean, what's the governor in Ohio's name? It's DeWine. I know that, but I guarantee you, y'all all know Ryan Day's name. So they are almost always the state's highest employee in terms of compensation. Um, but the bulk of the money, again, too, this is important, does not come from the state. Only a sliver of it, about 300,000, something like that, comes from the state of Georgia. The rest of it is Nike, broadcasting deals, just athletic department revenues. So that's where it comes from. Essentially, it comes from Disney at this point for the agreement that they've got Georgia with Disney and Nike for the SEC, and then of course the gear. So this is how Kirby gets paid the way he does. This is how, like at Louisville, that's how Rick Pitino was paid, was through Adidas. So that's the plan. That's how it is. I think that he is worth that. That's my opinion. I think that he is certainly worth that. And I think, The good for Kirby is he's totally deserving of a new contract and an extension if you want for sure. But I would say certainly more money. But damn, man, I mean, to me, after a while, there's only so much money you can do with money. I mean, he needs time, which he does not get a lot of. I just pointed out the picture of him with of his family. I mean, that to me is the part he can't get back. And that doesn't matter what kind of money we're talking about here. You could pay him $20 million a year. He's not going to get the time back that he spends trying to win football games when his children are growing up. That's the part to me that he's really sacrificing. And the only real way to compensate someone with that is money. I mean, that's it. And I asked him after the national championship game, is this all worth it? And at the end of the day, that is the question. It doesn't matter how successful you are. Is all of this worth it? You know, he views that it is, and I'm not saying he's wrong, but I'm saying that to make it worth it, you have to put the resources and the funding there, and Georgia will. And the question will be, what will that be? What will that amount be? The only caveat is you do not want to get into a situation where stuff can fall apart. We've seen this at Auburn. We've seen this at Texas A&M. I do not think we're going to see it at Clemson. But I will point out that Dabo Swinney's buyout is a pretty significant one, for sure. And you do not want to get into a situation where you are having to um, pay somebody that was successful at one time only to get rid of them later. I mean, Jimbo Fisher is a great example of that at Florida State. That was not as pricey for the Noles, but if something happened and Georgia fell off the cliff, which you do not see happening, you don't want to you got to hit the sweet spot here if you're Josh and Kirby too. I mean, like, if you're Kirby, you don't want to do, you want to do what is in the best interest of everybody here is getting the right deal for Georgia and Kirby, and I think they'll get there.